How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Blue Shifting, and welcome back to the Tales of Grisaia. Is that right? The Fruit of Grisaia. Gosh darn it. You can't tell, I recorded Trails in the Sky recently. So, yeah, it's our Thursday shows. Anyway, we are back with the Fruit of Grisaia, and we have had some interesting things. So I kind of thought we were going to end up getting like a little like expose, chance meeting characters, kind of like episode, but we only did the first two with Amane and Michiha. Gosh darn, I'll know it as soon as I see it. But then it kind of stopped, and now it's just been general stuff. So I don't know what to expect now, but I mean, so far it's interesting. So not really much else to say at this point. It's mostly just theory crafting, character like profiling, and just kind of like getting to know who they are and who I am. Because Yuya is still very, very confusing, but yeah, that's okay. We're gonna get there. I think it's a good way to tell a story where it's bits and pieces rather than just exposition dumps. It can do it. Exposition dumps can be appropriate, but you'd never want to start with that because it's just going to overload people. So it's good writing. So there's not really much else to say other than let's just jump right into it. There's a subspecies of woman distinguished by an excessive kind of helpfulness, the burning desire to take care of other people's problems. Why? I don't get the. Is it you? Not Yuya, it's Yuji. I don't get the. I don't get the thinking here. Like, he doesn't seem like he understands women very well. Like, he understands some women, I guess. Like, he grew up with that one crazy lady, apparently. But like, he talks about it like he's this philosopher of women, and I don't get that vibe from him at all. Within a few days of entering this school, I had a rough idea that Suo Amane fit this busybody woman classification. But if I had to admit, I wasn't expecting her to extend her meddling to me quite so quickly. Although I suppose it's inevitable that we'd run into each other a lot since we live in the same dorm, it seems like she's coming up to me every free moment and playing the big sister. Okay, yeah, but I wish she'd put herself in my shoes. It's not easy having to politely shoot her down every time. Uh-huh. Not wasting any time, are you? Yuji. I called him Yuya and yeah, I don't know. My brain is melting. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm not sure how she got the idea in her head, but lately every time my break begins, Amane's been clinging to me from behind. She's talking about herself like she's a character. That's so weirdly meta. But also, yes, I've absolutely been in the shoes of someone jumping on your back and just like, ugh. Look, you're heavy. Remove your chest flap from my head. On the contrary, I'm something of a fan. Wow. That's an outdated attitude. I'd prefer that. If a man hits on me, I can hit on him with my fists. What do you want from me? If you want to have something to say, then spit it out already. Like, she's cute, she's got a fun personality, but she's horrifically oppressive. It's kind of a problem. Thanks, sis, but I'm a big boy now, so could you please get lost? Oh gosh. Stop that. I'm a dainty little thing. I'll break even eat more easily than you think. They say snapping turtle won't release prey from its bite even if lightning strikes nearby. Amane's a similar beast. Once she clings to me, my only release is the sound of the bell. If this woman kept a pet cat, I'm positive it would go bald from stress within a week. I'm not confident my own hair will be safe if I allow these assaults to continue. I think it's about time I get my message across, even if it requires taking a somewhat harsh attitude. Oh boy. Amane? That's about enough. Just as I begin to shout, Sakaki appears with a spectacular timing.
Suo-san, 少しいいかしら?
Yumiko grimaces at Amane's response. Her glare is expressive. Who are you supposed to be?
まあいいわ。次の地歴の授業で使うプロジェクターの準備があるでしょ。
Uh-huh.
ああ、そうか。今日の日直、私とマキナだ。
Machina. I got her name wrong too. I'm so bad. Like, I'm normally pretty good at this, but like, it's been a long day. If I'm honest, like, part of the reason why I'm recording today is not because I feel like at my peak. I normally make sure I get enough sleep and rest. Today I have not. It's been the opposite. But I also was just really stressed and just wanted to play. I just wanted to read the story and get to know the character. So like, I know my brain is just fluttering away, but please be patient with me. I'm just gonna enjoy this and just have you along for the ride.
イリスさん一人で準備を始めたけど、放っておいていいの？ごめん、ユージくん。私行かなきゃ。
Don't mind me.
急いだ方がいいわよ。またイリスさんが機材を壊す前に。マーキナー！待って！壊さないで！
Yep. Yeah, that is a concern, actually. You finally released me. What a nosy woman.
あれ、わざとああしてドタバタして見せているのよ。ネクラだってバレるのがそんなに怖いのかしら。
What do you mean?
言葉の通りよ。まあ、昔のスオーさんのように無駄にうじうじしているよりはマシだと思って、私は諦めることにしたわ。
Okay, so Yumiko's pointing, she's suggesting that Amane's depressive, so like depressive as in like, I'm guessing like clinically, like depressed, like having like crushing, soul crushing emotional smothering. But that's when she started, she was very shy, timid, and very like enclosed, but she's opened up and, you know, exchanged a more like reclusive feel to a over the top expressive feel to deal with her anxieties, which is actually a real thing. Like, it's absolutely what I've done in the past. Like, I've never been to the point of like needing to be medicated or anything, but like, that's the idea, is like, I've had anxieties and stresses and depressions. Like, we all kind of go through those phases, sometimes some more than others. Like, I don't know, maybe if I might have been able to be diagnosed at the time, but I doubt it, just because it never really smothered me. But it definitely played into anxiety, and that anxiety drove me to be really social and to try and be a people pleaser, because I was terrified of the idea that people would hate me. And maybe that came from a feeling of self-doubt and I don't know, maybe self-hate might be the wrong word, but like, it more of a like, I didn't feel worthy of being considered like, I don't know, maybe not, like, I didn't feel worthy of the friendships I had. And so I overcompensated by being extra friendly and like putting all my energy into keeping everyone happy. It's like, in a way, I kind of did the same thing. Although smothering with my breasts was not really a forte of mine. You make it sound like you're familiar with her past. Have you known Amane that long?
そうね。と言っても、知り合ってまだ1年程度だけれど。
Okay. So Amane wasn't always like this.
何？彼女に興味があるの？
I just don't understand the woman. Why does she drape herself all over me like that?
私が知るわけないじゃない。彼女に直接聞いたらどう？
I feel like we tried. She just says it's big sister energy. I did. Just the other day, having stocked up on necessities for my new dorm life at the local supermarket, I was wandering leisurely around the area to find in front of the station.
あれ？ゆうちゃんじゃん。何してんの？こんなとこで。
Don't call me that.
ん？なんで？かわいいじゃん。
Spare me. I can't get any cuter than I already am. What a good answer. All the other girls will get jealous and start picking on me.
そういう言い回し、誰かに似てるって言われない？
Uh-huh. Like who?
さあ、それより何？お買い物？
Amane pointed to the plastic supermarket bag dangling from my hand.
ボックスティッシュに乾電池、サラダ油にマヨネーズ、あとはレトルトのカレーにデンタルフロス、それともやし。
I've been sitting craving curry for days now. It just hit me. I think I'm just gonna cook some myself, like from scratch. It's something we've done before, like to the point where you even get the various herbs and such fresh, and then you bake it in the oven and then incorporate it in. Baking it, you really just open up the flavor, especially when it's fresh and not just like dried and then like put in. and like it's just so good. It's been so long since I've had a good curry, like homemade curry. I think it's about time. Look, you don't just start riffling through my bag.
カレーを買うなら南口の山陽より北口の松栄の方が安いよ。もやしも松栄さんなら1袋29円だし。
How big a bag is that? Because that sounds amazing. 29 yen, like essentially equates to like 20, like almost like a little more than a quarter, like for a whole bag. That sounds amazing. You're knowledgeable as always. Do you wander around comparing prices all day long?
別に毎日ってわけじゃないけど、買い物のたびにチェックはしてるかな。
It's kind of impressive, actually. Huh? She's got an impressive devotion to economizing. I can't. What is that word? Economic. I'm gonna say economics. Devotion to economics. I feel definite admiration since my master was the sort of wild woman who bought things without ever looking at the price tag.
牛乳、卵、野菜を買うなら松栄さん。お魚、お肉、トイレットペーパーを買うなら山陽さんって覚えておくといいよ。
Well, I'm not that caught up on the price. I appreciate the thought, but it was just a store that's convenient. That's all well and good to wander around looking for bargains, but when you consider the increased effort and consumption of time involved, getting too picky frequently turns into a loss. It's true. Like, time, money, and energy are all resources. Now, money is often the resource that's hardest to reacquire, but you can get more of it. Time, you can't get more of that. Although, it oftentimes you wouldn't be doing anything much more meaningful, so it's not the worst thing in the world. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
まあ、男の子はそうだよね。
No, just me. That's right. I'll be going.
帰るの？
Yeah, I did finish my shopping.
じゃあ、一緒に帰ろうよ。
As soon as the words left her mouth, Amane was standing by my side, firmly grasping my hand. What do you think you're doing?
何が？
This, of course. In demonstration, I raised the hand that Amane had gripped, or rather captured, her fingers entwining tightly with mine. Fetch, she didn't just hold his hand, she just like went up on a full... Jeez. What am I, a kid who can't go home unless Mama pulls him there? I've got to admit, I don't remember acting quite that adorably, so I'm very interested in where you're coming from here. Still gripping my right hand tightly, Amane raises a forefinger to her other hand to her lip and racks her brain for an answer.
幼い弟の手を引いて家に帰る優しいお姉ちゃんプレイ？
Roleplay? Oh, is that it? If it's roleplay, then I guess I have to play along. Ha ha ha! Did you really think I'd say that? Off! I forcefully yanked my arm free, shaking off Amane's grip.
もう嫌なの？
If you think that puppy dog face will make me act nicer out of guilt, you're very wrong. Don't flirt in public. That's rude. That's a rule of mine.
二人きりならいいの？
Stop twisting my words. The point is, I can't think of a single reason why I should hold hands with you. Okay, harsh there, boy. I get it, but... Okay, to be fair, no, it would be harsh if this was their first encounter. But this is like a trail of instances that he's just getting frustrated with.
私がつなぎたいからじゃあ理由にならないの？
It's not an answer to the question why you want to hold hands.
私ね、過去の事故のトラウマで誰かと手をつないでいないと不安なのよ。
Okay, but then I could believe that, but at the same time, you do so much stuff by yourself that can't possibly be truly true. Although, again, if she has depressive anxieties, she might actually be telling the truth, and she just kind of fakes it till she makes it, kind of. Some kind of obsessive-compulsive disorder? What sort of accident was it?
それは、
The heck?
やだ、怒らないでよ、冗談なんだから。
As she spoke, Amane took my hand for a second time. No, okay. I do think she's kind of telling the truth here, but it's like a half-truth. Like, I bet you there is some kind of accident in her past, and maybe is related with her feeling like isolated, maybe like being scared of being alone. But I don't think it's actually like a reason for this. I don't know. It's hard to read her, man. Joke? What did the joke start? This is irritating. Take the left at least. I can't calm down when someone's got a hold of my dominant hand.
別にね、手を握ることに深い意味なんてないよ。ただ、せっかく同じクラスになったんだし、仲良くしたいなってそう思っただけ。
You know what? That doesn't fly though, because in Japan they're super not touchy-feely. Even here in America, just randomly holding hands with a friend, it's kind of weird. Like, I mean, it can happen, but usually that's something you'd only see with like best friends who've known each other for a long time. Not some random girl you've met like a week ago. Why get friendly with me?
それ理由がいる？君は子供の頃とか友達を作るのに損得や理由を考えてた？
That's fair. I genuinely don't know how I make friends. Like, I've got friends, and I've got friends I've had for years that still do stuff with them. I'm really happy I have them, but I can't tell you how that happened. Like, it just kind of, we were just friends one day. Like, I don't know, it's weird. I can't be the only one who thinks like that, though. Like, can you describe, like, what it was that made you friends with somebody? Because, like, the best I can gather with, like, my best friend from high school, like the guy was, like, we were, like, attached at the hip for years. Like, we met in middle school, and I'm pretty sure that the only thing that happened that went from, like, not knowing each other to being friends was we happened to sit next to each other on the bus, and we both happened to play Halo and like it a lot. We just, like, he sat next to me because we rode the same bus, and it was just really quiet for a while, and then we just chatted a bit, and somehow Halo came up, and then we were both gushing about how much we loved Halo, and then we just started hanging out. And I don't know where those steps connected. Hard to say. Didn't have any.
じゃあ逆に聞くけど、どうして私じゃダメなのかな？
I wouldn't say I don't. I just want to understand your motive.
ならいいじゃない。仲良くしましょうよ。
You're a weird one.
うちの学校で変じゃない子って一人もいないよ。多分。
I agree. Now this school is full of cracks. I'm going back.
帰ろう。
Having moved to my left as I requested, Amane didn't mess around any further. On her way back, she calmly acted her age. Holding hands really did seem to be enough to satisfy her. Doubts did run through my head, considering it's only been a day since we met. She's bizarrely friendly, but still, as she's a member of our class full of special cases. Despite her relatively normal facade, Amane must have her own unhappy circumstances. This hand-holding may well be have some meaning for her.
で、彼女の過去を鑑みるに、スキンシップを無下に断るのも気が引けるので。
Oh, interesting. We'll make a detective of you yet.
何を偉そうに。
Sakake, what sort of accident was Amane involved in?
知らないわ。
If it's not something you can talk about, I'll leave it alone.
そうじゃなくて、本当に知らないのよ。あまり興味もないし。でも、文字通り交通事故だったという話ね。
Okay, so the incident was real. Okay, like it's nice it's confirmed. A car crash.
なんでも、彼女が乗っていたバスが事故を起こして、それが原因で心を病んでいるという話を聞いたことはあるけれど。
Maybe like post-traumatic stress disorder?
手をつなぎたがる癖があるなんて話は過分にして聞いたことがないわね。
Right. Then why was she so persistent about it?
だから知らないわよ。彼女視力が悪いようだし、それが原因じゃない？
Really? And she doesn't wear glasses? Does bad eyesight make you want to hold hands? I mean, if you literally might stumble into stuff. But she doesn't. She walks around by herself all the time.
さあ、視力が未発達な赤ん坊が何でも口に入れて舌で物体の形状や温度を認識するのと同じで、何でも触ってみないと落ち着かないんじゃないかしら。
Weird. A possible theory. I'm having a hard time buying it in her case. In the first place, are her eyes that terrible?
知らないわよ。興味ないって言ったでしょ。
For someone who's not interested, though, you have a lot of information. I'm wasting my breath talking to you.
気が合うわね。私もたった今、あなたとの会話はつまらないと言おうとしていたところよ。
Alright, well, fine. See ya. Huh, guess we're done here. Or would be, if I hadn't just spotted Komine Sachi out of the corner of my eye. Hey, Sachi, you have a minute?
はい、何でしょう。
Do you know anything in particular about Amane's past?
いいえ、私は詳しい話は何も。
So in other words, nobody knows the whole story.
あえて聞くような楽しい話題ではないし、自分から不幸自問ができるほどに回復している学生ならいつまでもこんなところにはいないでしょうしね。
Yeah, so you're saying that like this school is super specialized then. Is this like a kind of pseudo like asylum? Not like asylum is in like, oh, let's put the crazy people away and make them quiet. Like more of just like, oh, sanatorium. Maybe that's the proper word for it. I don't know. It's just a mental hospital. Maybe that's what it is, but I don't see, but there's no doctors here. Like you'd think if we were full of people who have like disorders of some kind, that we would also have medical professionals showing up occasionally. True enough. As long as the person in question doesn't want to discuss it, I suppose I shouldn't pry any farther. And in the first place, I'm a little dubious that Amane's past really has anything to do with holding my hand.
何かAmaneさんが思わず手をつなぎたくなるほどに好かれるようなことをしたのではないですか？
Not that I know of. Maybe I'm just a guy. Maybe that's enough. Huh, that's taking things in a new direction. Specifically, what do you think I did?
そうですね。例えばAmaneさんが街でヤンキーに絡まれているところを助けたとか。
Nah. 雨
の日に捨て猫の入った段ボールにそっと傘を置いていったところを見られたとかね。
That does not like it's cute because like imagining him doing that is kind of funny. What's so funny? Well, whatever. Neither rings a bell. I have no memories of being lovers in a previous life either.
そんな記憶があったら気持ち悪いわよ。
Hey, why is that nasty? You find love? That's a good thing.
この学園に男の人が転入してくるのは珍しいですし、何かこうクラスメイトの男子とそういうデートじみたことがしてみたかっただけなのではないでしょうか。
There you go. That's probably it. You think so? Incidentally, Sachi, does that mean you've got an interest in holding hands and going on a date with me as well?
手をつなぐこと自体は嫌ではないですし、俺と手をつなげ、デートをしろと、そう強く命令していただければ、絶対に断らないと思いますけど。
Okay, but I'll say right here is me. The instant you're saying things like, if you told me we're going on a date, I wouldn't refuse. I don't know how to take that. Does that just mean you wouldn't say no? Or does that mean you want to, but you're too shy to like bring it up? I guess it's a girl thing. Like it's a whole traditional thing too, like guys asking girls. It's one of the problems with that whole tradition and standard is it really makes it difficult for guys because we understand that if we ask you on a date and you don't want it, it's really creepy and you're probably going to talk about it behind our backs with other girls. And that's kind of scary. And so a lot of times guys won't take that step that seriously unless they feel it out. You know, some guys can be the kind like, oh, just, hey, let's go on a date. But like, even then, it's going to be super casual because they just kind of, like, we want to just know if you're cool with it. unless they're like one of those like crazy, like super vapid guys who just kind of for the pleasure experiences. But no, like for the guys who take it seriously, it's an interesting dance to have to do. Huh, I see. Thank you for your valuable opinion. I'll file it under the not helpful in the slightest. Oh, hey! How about you, Sakaki?
私があなたと手をつないでデート？
Right. Got any interest?
困ったわ。どう答えればあなたを傷つけずに済むのかしら。
I get the picture. Thanks so much for your compassion. So in the end, asking around didn't give me anything resembling a clear answer. Well, yeah. It's people. I guess he doesn't know that, but from what Sakaki says, it doesn't seem like Amane wants to hold hands indiscriminately. The mystery only deepened.
大丈夫、マキナ。あそこ狭いからぶつけないようにね。大丈夫。なんで言ってるそばからぶつけるかな、あんた。
私はそういう生き物なのよさ。
Just at that moment, Amane enters the classroom, pulling Makina by the hand, oblivious to our gossip. I point my thumb toward the pair in their connected hands. You said Amane doesn't have the habit of holding hands, right?
まあ、イリスさんは特別。手をつないでおかないと、ふらふらとどこかへ行っちゃうような子だし。
Okay, so it's a false flag. Sakaki watches Amane and Makina as she speaks. Suddenly, she claps her hands together as if struck by a burst of insight.
あなた、 あの子と同列に見られているのではないかしら。
Ha. You know, what do I maybe say what? Wait, what? I've been put in the same category with this girl who looks about 12 and seems likely to get lost tottering after a butterfly? What a seriously unpleasant thought.
スオさんは面倒見がいいのよ。なんていうか、言葉は悪いけど、きっとダメ男が好きなんじゃないかしら。
Ooh, she likes hembos, huh? I appreciate that you're probably trying to help, but that's basically an indirect way of saying you look like a hopeless man.
ん？
Yeah, she's
そう言ったつもりだけど。
like, I wasn't trying to be indirect. I thought I was being pretty direct about that. Sakaki, could you please stop rubbing salt in the wound without even realizing it? It kind of stings.
あら、心外だわ。これでも随分と高評価しているつもりなのだけれど。
It's not unintentional, dude. Like, she's genuinely trying. Mind answering that last question for me?
何かしら。
Is there even a single normal person in the school?
言ったでしょ。まともならこんな学園になんていないわよ。あなたを含めてね。
True enough. Don't think you've got some special variety of unhappiness. Sensing the abomination underneath Sakaki's words, I feel the stirrings of something like shame. No, not abomination, admonition. Yeah, so it's like a rebuke, not like a perversion. Whether it's normal or not, the student life isn't bad in its own way. I've started to like this place enough to reach that conclusion. Okay. A hobby is a window that gives you a fresh perspective on the world, or so my sister said. But when I was a kid, struggling through my daily life was about all I could handle. I disliked and avoided change, even when it might have brought me something new. So my sister's recommendation was at least to try reading books. That sister of mine was an unbelievably voracious bookworm herself. She began to push ones that she finished on me. I soon picked up a reading habit, although I didn't find any particular meaning in it at the time. My sister's dead now. So are my parents and my master, yet I'm still reading. The sister who taught me to read books, the parents who weren't angry at me when I was reading books, and the master who praised me for reading books, buying me as many as I wanted. I'm grateful to them now, since I found some meaning in the act of reading.
風見くん。
Huh?
今、少し時間大丈夫かしら。
Alright, this is weird. Yeah. I turn around in response to Yumiko's greeting and find her carrying a sizable load of paperback and hardcover books.
読み終わった本を持ってきたのだけれど。読む？
Oh. Actually, yeah. Sure. Appreciate it, as always.
いいのよ。私も読み終わった本の始末ができて楽だから。
As anyone with a long-term reading habit is well aware, books pile up before you know it. Yes, but it's the best feeling in the world being surrounded by books. That said, it's hard to just throw them away, and selling them to used bookstores feels disrespectful to the author. The idea is to find another avid reader to dump them on. Also true. Though, by selling them to bookstores, that's a good way to do it. I loved going to used bookstores. It's a great place to find gems and just stuff you'd never really heard of. Incidentally, before I came, Sakaki had apparently been pushing the books she finished onto the library, but now she's established her own private shelf in there, full of pleasure reads. Most likely, she spotted me by coincidence as she's carrying her books there, and figured she could save herself the walk. Heavy, right? Here. I slid my hand under the book Sakaki's carrying.
ちょっと、
Watch it, don't take your hands off yet, the books are going to fall.
あなたの手が私の手に触れているのだけれど。
Alright, so after you've been crazy, literally, now we're putting the cute factor on here. God, she is pretty, but I don't know. Of course it is. Don't worry, my hygienic standards are higher than you might expect.
そういうことじゃなくて、もう。
You complain too much. Alright, got a hold of them. You can let go.
少し無神経よ、あなた。
That's so? Anyway, I'll gratefully read these books. When I finish one, I'll return it to the Sakaki collection. If you want to rearrange any of them, I'll be in the library.
わかったわ。それじゃあ、私は失礼するわね。
Well, so she's very more traditional, like no touchy, because touchy is very important. That's the thing. It's like the cultural side of it is like, it's not that people in Japanese culture are just not touchy-feely. I think it's the contrary. I think being touchy-feely is so highly prized that it's not something you engage in lightly. It's very similar for me for just relationships in general. Like, I knew people in high school who just jumped from girl to girl or boy to boy, just dating, and like you'd break up and next week you'd have a new person, you know? Because for them, dating was like a casual thing. Like, you'd spend time with people, yeah, you get the emotional connection, the physical connection, but for them, it really was kind of a casual thing, kind of like Amane. It's like, okay, like, it doesn't have to be any true feelings here for this to be fun to express, you know? But then Yumiko obviously is like on the far extreme other side, like further than I would be, but I'm more along the lines of her thinking here, where I was very hesitant to get into relationships. Definitely had girls who would be interested in me, but if I didn't feel like a spark, I usually didn't really follow through with it. I kind of just, politely declined, essentially. I probably should have dated more because it would have been good for experience, but for me, it was like, I didn't want dating to ever feel not special, you know? Same thing with holding hands and kissing. It's like, sure, it can be a great way to express it, and a lot of people find a lot of happiness sharing hugs and kisses and holding hands with just people they're, being around, but it's not like it, because it's just not as deep. But for some people, and I think culturally in Japan very, very strongly, it's considered almost sacred in a way, like not like holy, but more of just like something to be treasured. And that's kind of why there's that kind of standoffishness, I think, of respectful and saving those types of interactions for somebody truly special. But that's my far away American reading of the situation. Yeah. I take a quick look at the titles of the books I'm holding. Sohei Akai, the decisive pudding battle. Kanbato Takaru, yesterday's black cat. Hiroi Atsuko, the exit of the desert. These sounds like manga. Seno Takumi, Professor Takeda's dinner. Ethan Crow, an insolent woman. Shinonome Kazuma, you blew it, Amore. Although she reads quite a variety of genres and authors, it seems like Sakaki's fundamentally likes whodunits. Of the 6 books she's passed to me, 4 are mysteries. Come to think of it, I could easily see Sakaki sitting at a detective's desk, using her brain for a living. Flipping open one of the books, I speak toward the shadow of a nearby pillar. Makina, how long do you plan on hiding there? I'm not mad or anything. How about you come out? You're not as sneaky as you think you are. Your aura's too crude. I can sense you even when you're hidden. I just said that for the hell of it. You were casting a shadow on the floor. I could tell it was you from the height and that shaggy head. Pretty much. Why were you hiding in the first place?
別に隠れてたわけじゃないのよさ。お兄ちゃんとユミちゃんのお話が終わるまでじっと黙ってただけなのよ。
Got it, so she happened upon us and decided not to interrupt. You don't get along with Sakaki?
そういうわけじゃないのよ。でも、ユミちゃんはきっと私のことあんま好きじゃないと思うのよさ。
It doesn't feel like she likes anybody. On the other hand, I'm pretty sure Sakaki said something like, I think Irisu-san avoids me on purpose. You're in a state of mutual weariness. Well, I suppose that does happen sometimes. Sakaki is a guarded person who doesn't reveal her thoughts easily, and Makina, who feels most secure when she's burrowed her way into someone's heart, their personal comfort zone may be incompatible. Well, it's foolish to expect everyone to get along. A long time ago, I knew a guy who hated black people with a passion, and nothing anyone said could get him to change his mind. So, wow, just blatantly racist, like not even like hiding it. And everyone tries like, come on, it's fine. Like, why you like that? He's just like, I don't know. Sakaki Yumiko and Irisu Makina. There's no need to forcibly push them together, but in their case, maybe a mutual compromise is called for. I don't think Sakaki dislikes you, Makina. Just try not to hate her yourself.
だから別に嫌ってないし、ただなんていうか、何を話していいのかもわかんないし。
I see.
むしろ逆に聞くけど、お兄ちゃんはどうやって あの気難しいユミちゃんと年頃な間柄になったの？
In one breath, she says, I don't think there's something I don't like about her. And on the other breath, like, what about cranky Yumi-chan? Well, it's not like we're particularly close, but we have a common interest in books, so I guess that helped things get started. Of course, I get the idea Sakaki's mostly views me as a little more than a convenient book disposal. After all, it's hard to say you're friendly with someone who scolds you so bluntly just because your hands touch. Makina, do you have any hobbies?
趣味？そうね。強いて言えば散歩ぐらい？
Solo?
大抵一人で。
That's not good.
なんでさ、一人遊びってなんかちょっとエッチっぽくてよくない？
Why do you go that way with it? No. Also, no.
あれ？
At the company I work at, solitary hobbies are fundamentally discouraged. They place a lot of stress on keeping up some form of communication with others. When it comes to the interests of the employees, the basics are alcohol, women, and gambling, but it's a bit difficult to own up to that in front of the boss. Therefore, when asked, some of them just came up with a safe-sounding conventional hobby like shogi or go. When the superiors reacted favorably to those answers, the end result was that the hobbies column in the employee survey data recorded an overwhelming number of shogi buffs. Although going with the flow is pretty much a defining Japanese characteristic, it's still something of a pathetic story. Well, having given them a nice safe hobby like reading myself, I guess I can't really say too much. Nothing, just talking to myself. Incidentally, once you're the one giving the surveys out, in other words, the executive type, the hobby of choice would be gardening, not something you can do when you're living out in a barracks.
趣味ってそんなに大事？
Yeah, it's better to have some interest than not, even if they're really worthless. Hey! Good! He approves of my hobby choices. For example, the aforementioned employees and their wine, women, and song. Even then, if they can help you find a single common interest with someone, your hobbies are worthwhile as social lubricant, even if they're worthless in every other respect. This is something I heard secondhand from a senior employee at my job, but sometimes you get cases like this. This is a story about a man who took a business trip to Gifu Prefecture. It was a group expedition with the purpose of field testing new equipment they had just deployed throughout his company. At the time, the man in question was a new employee, not even out of his training period. Nevertheless, he found himself taking a long, bumpy ride into the mountains on a company bus, accompanied by the chief of his special department. The man didn't have the first clue why he'd been selected for the trip, let alone why he'd been expected to do on it. To make matters worse, he was sitting next to a powerful superior he barely knew. In short, the man was about ready to vomit from sheer terror and anxiety. He fought desperately to keep calm, but his face was pale as a sheet. The bus finally reached its destination at the foot of Mount Kinka in Gifu after many unpleasant hours. But the man's relief was temporary, as his boss informed him they would be attending a large banquet, a high-class inn that night. Corporate banquets are basically a crude kind of talent show. New employees were expected to perform some skill for the amusement of the gathered VIPs. The newbie from each department mounted the stage one after the other. Quite a few croaked popular karaoke ballads with stiff faces, but there were also some pretty competent juggling acts. Even one stand-up comedian duo, which got some laughs doing imitations of superiors. The man watched the other acts with a fluttering heart. His turn was approaching fast, but he was basically a walking, breathing lump of artistic incompetence, an antisocial type with a single talent worth performing in front of others. Just as he was wondering whether he could escape by pretending a sudden illness, the man was practically kicked out onto the stage by a senior employee. For lack of a better thought, he started to sing. But the man didn't know any popular songs. Worse, he couldn't remember any of the standard folk songs or children's music that might have worked in a pinch. The man went instead with the theme song from a superhero TV show, Lightspeed General Dracomarov, which he loved as a kid. But at this point, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of despair. Yeah, I could feel that. This was, of course, the man's first time singing in public, and he didn't have much of a voice. Within moments, it was showered in jeers from the audience. The heck are you singing? What's with you? Hey, butt all, you just make that up on the spot? That's enough, get him off the stage, you suck! Although he wasn't the type to break down in tears, the man felt a deep urge to dig himself a hole and crawl into it. Only the sheer stubbornness carried him through the last humiliating note. When it was over, the man quickly bowed from the stage and raced back to his seat. On that walk back from the stage, the man had a thought. I wish I'd learned a popular song or two.
つまりカラオケが趣味だったらいらん恥をかかずに済んだってお話?
Might be kind of more of like, you never know in a pinch when a hobby might turn out to be an asset. Well, if you look at it the way you are right now, you're right, but the story isn't over yet. With the equipment test wrapped up, the man had returned to his new assignment at the branch office in Shizuoka. Someone called out to him and was dealing with the transfer paperwork. So, you're the newbie who's saying, Draikum were off at the banquet in Gifu? The man's breath caught in his throat. He'd figured out by now the main job of his superior was to flaunt their authority by picking on the smallest mistakes and then rubbing their nose in him. And the manager speaking to him was infamous for his zealous leadership of his underlings. Frankly, the man was about ready to piss his pants. He swallowed and chewed his lip. Bitter thoughts were running through his head. Was he going to blame on me? How long will I have to grovel? But the manager's words took him by surprise. I loved that show when I was a kid! The man blinked, dumbfounded by this unexpected development. You're from Hiroshima, kid? According to the manager, Daikamarov runs were played relentlessly every weekend afternoon at a local station. Practically every child in Hiroshima grew up watching the show. But the man wasn't a Hiroshima native. In the area he lived in as a child, the Children's Encore Theater program would broadcast old episodes of the show every summer. He just happened to see a few. Even so, the manager must have been really pleased to find a fellow Drakenroth fan. He began to pull a few strings in the man's benefit. One night after work, the man returned to his bed in the company dorm to find a white plastic bag had been tucked underneath the sheet of his neatly made bed. He didn't remember putting it there himself, and when he asked around, nobody else had any idea where it had come from. The bag contained a huge jelly roll and a couple of instant ramen. Dang. As a new employee, the man had to eat dinner at a set time, 5 p.m. By 10 p.m., lights out in the dorm. All the trainees would be starving. This supplement meal was therefore a very considerate present. The man had an idea who was responsible. Most likely his Daikamarov buddy. It was at the top of the only one who had pulled it off. On top of the early dinner time, learning the ropes of the trainee is particularly tiring. His Daikamarov buddy had probably figured he'd have a hard time getting in his young body to fall asleep on an empty stomach. The man actually didn't have a particularly big appetite, and wasn't the type to be troubled by irregular meals. But then again, as a new employee, he didn't have much money he could spend freely on snacks and such. A little sugar was extremely welcome. If I get caught, they'll be punished too. So the man split the smuggled food with the other trainees in his room. They all devoured their shares greedily. As the present from his Drakenmoth buddy, at the time they were known as the Drakenmoth Supply Drop, continued. That talentless, quiet, and hobbyless triple threat contender for the antisocial crown suddenly found himself getting along with the group in the dorm, all thanks to Drakenmoth's connection. And 3 months later, when the man's training period came to an end, it was once again his Drakenmoth's buddy who recommended he get assigned to the Chiba branch office he'd hoped for. Dang, that's pretty impressive, actually. In other words, when it comes to hobbies and interests, anything is fine. Finding friends you can talk to about something, some common interest with is a rarely valuable thing. Sometimes something that small can be a trigger for gaining a huge leg up in life. That's the moral of the story.
なんかよくわかんないけど、大マカロフって大きなマカロンみたいで美味しそうなのよ。
Daimakarov. That's how you say it. Daimakarov. I thought this was a pretty meaningful story. I guess it didn't quite get across.
要は一人で散歩したりお人形さんごっこしてばっかいないでいろんなこと経験しとけってことなのね。
Wait, to be fair, playing with dolls was not something you listed under hobbies. Well, more or less. When you're younger, you should mess around with all sorts of things. Just try to find something that grabs you, even if it's stupid crap. Welcome to this channel.
お兄ちゃんは今なんか夢中になってることあるの？
After all that spacing out, that's a pretty sharp question. I glanced down toward the pile of borrowed books I'm holding in my hands. I suppose right now I don't have anything other than reading that qualifies.
ロールケーキ食べたいね。
You aren't really listening to a word I say, are you? Well, not to say you need to.
だってさっきのお話で出てきたロールケーキって単語が気になっちゃったのよさ。あとマカロン。
Jonesin? Okay. Go get Amane to make something.
ぜひそうしよう。お兄ちゃんも後でアマネーのお部屋においで。一緒におやつ食べようよ。
Yeah, if I'm in the mood.
じゃあ また後でね。
Matane. I see. I learned my own lesson from this conversation. If there's a mention of food in the middle of a story, Makina won't remember another word. I'll have to be more careful next time. Yes. Yes, you will. All right. Let's go ahead and end here for today. All right, we can go a little longer. During my middle school days in America, I got a number of strange nicknames from my classmates. Mainly because none of them could be bothered to remember a Japanese name. On the predictable side, there was Jap and Shorty. My family name Kazami got abbreviated to KZ as well. However, among the numerous nicknames, the only one that stuck through the basic training was Gar, short for garbage eater. It's not that I had a reputation for dumpster diving, it was a reference to my tolerance for crappy food. As to how I earned it, the story is very simple. The KP made a slop unfit for pigs, and I ate it without grimacing. Freeze-dried scrambled eggs, pork and beans made from scraps of ham, bread with peanut butter, a ridiculously stringy mystery meat were the staples. Every one of them had a weird chemical aftertaste, and they were all disgusting. Rumor had it that the secret sauce was gasoline. Ugh. As for the chocolate cake we got for dessert, it was more commonly and accurately described as a desert. That cake was legendary for being inedible. No matter how starved you were, it would end up stuck to your throat as a dry lump, but I ate it and all the rest without complaining. Probably because I was living rough from a young age. I've never been what you call a picky eater. To put it simple, as long as my belly was full and my body was getting what it needed, the taste wasn't a concern. So even though 3 torturous meals a day didn't inspire any serious complaints from me, but the people around me must have thought I was some sort of freak. And after a while, my nickname became Garbage Eater, then eventually just Gar. Hey Gar, just how crappy to cook with your mom. I had a set response to this one. My mom didn't cook much. She was too busy screwing your dad's brains out. As far as my jokes go, I thought it was kind of witty, but the line didn't get that many laughs. I guess my delivery was a bit too stony. Well then, what should I do for dinner? I don't particularly feel a desire to eat, but if you don't take meals 3 regular times a day, it throws off your body's clock, leaves you more susceptible to fatigue. To tell the truth, I view meals as nothing more than elements of maintaining my physical condition. As long as I'm getting sufficient nourishment, I'm not that caught up in what I eat. When I spend any effort considering things like that, all I end up thinking about is how much of a pain in the butt it is to go about making something. And eventually, the act of eating itself starts to feel like a nuisance. My normal pattern is just to throw something together from supply canned and dried food.
Yuuji-kun, いる? なんだ、いるんじゃない。
Well, this is my room. Amane barges in like she owns the place, no longer even bothering to knock, but I'm already getting used to it, I guess. Probably because I've experienced a lot of emergency summons, it didn't get to me much in the first place.
7時になったら、私の部屋にご飯食べにおいでって言ったでしょ。夕食の用意してマキナと待ってたのに、なんで来ないかな。
As she speaks, I notice that Amane is holding a plate piled with crab legs in her hands.
実家からカニが届いたから、食べにおいでって言ったじゃんさ。
I do recall such an event. I also recall responding if I'm in the mood, not that I'd definitely be there. Yeah, but I said that you and Makina should go ahead and eat if I didn't show up on time.
何？あんたもカニ嫌いなの？
Not really.
殻を剥いて食べるのがめんどくさいでしょ。マキナも同じこと言うのよね。剥いてあげれば食べるくせにさ。
Right.
剥いてあげれば剥いてあげたであの子。これぞザッツカニパンでしょとか言いながらパンに挟んで食べるのよ。
The crab croissants.
基本的に物の価値が分かっていないっていうか、挙句には言うにこと書いて、かまぼこの方がうめえなって失礼しちゃうわよ。
Yeah, that can't be possible. Probably just means that Makina places more importance on how easy it is to eat. Honestly, I think I'd go for crab paste over crab myself.
なによ、張り合いのない子たちね。世の中には食べたくても食べられない子がたくさんいるのよ。
That's certainly true.
分かったのなら文句を言わず食べなさい。殻剥いてあげるから。
Look, I wasn't really complaining, and I can take care of the shell on my own.
っていうか、私が来なかったら何を食べるつもりだったの？へえ、ご飯は炊いてあるんだ。でもこれいつ炊いたの？
Hey, hands off! Amane's wandering off in my kitchen and is examining things as she passes. After confirming the contents of my mess kit cooker, she opens the door to my refrigerator and starts checking stock of my supplies.
食べかけの缶詰の残りと魚肉ソーセージとマヨネーズにレタスとチンゲン菜。何これ？たくあんの缶詰？
Yeah, this is pretty poor state of things.
こんなのどこで売ってるのよ。っていうか、いつ開けたの？
I opened it at lunch. Get off my back. Why is it that this feels strangely embarrassing? It's not like I have anything troublesome in the fridge. In the first place, where does she get off calling canned radishes this thing? It's well known among canned food connoisseurs as almost decent and pretty much edible. Yeah. Is this woman looking down on the brave men and women who have gained courage from canned food through the years? As I silently burn with the righteous indignation, Amane brazenly starts running tap water into my rice cooker. Like, hey, what do you think you're doing?
だってこのままじゃご飯がカチカチだし、一回水で戻すのよ。
I don't care if it's hard. Probably because I'm used to eating canned stuff that comes out of arid and stiff as a wax candle. I'm pretty tolerant of tough food.
卵は2つしかないけど、使っちゃっていい？
I don't care, but what are you planning?
カニチャーハン作ってあげる。あんたはおとなしく座って待ってなさいな。
That does sound good. I've just discovered I'm hungry. Well, I suppose pretty much anyone can handle fried rice, especially for a woman. That sounds prejudiced. That's somewhat prejudiced assumption is that you'll have the basic skills like that. At least he acknowledges prejudice a little. But hey, you know, to each their own. Fact is, out of all the women I've met so far, the only one who could make edible fried rice was my master. Still, can't quite hide a certain anxiety. Not that Amane is paying any attention, humming to herself as she cracks open the eggs. After shaking salt and pepper into the eggs, she mixes it in lightly and rinses rice. Then adds bits of crab meat, only about half of what she brought, and finally chopped radish. She heats the frying pan coated in mayonnaise rather than oil, adds lettuce, spinach, and plundered from my fridge, and throws the rice mixture according to her own timing. Sticking the back of her ladle in the mix, she vigorously clatters it around the frying pan, messily stir-frying the food. When Amane decides it's done, she uses the bowl as a mold to form the rice into a perfect hemisphere, then tosses it into the plate. This wouldn't look out of place in a Chinese restaurant.
そして最後に
Dressing the leftover crab meat with mustard and mayo, she drops it in with a thud on top of the heap of fried rice on the plate. It's funny because she literally just took scraps from the fridge and made something that sounds really good.
はーい、お待たせ
So she says, but she hasn't even been 10 minutes since Amane started to cook. The imposing pile of steaming fried rice on my plate looks pretty darn impressive for something cobbled together out of leftovers and in such a short time.
っていうか、この部屋もっと大きいテーブルないの？なんかお皿とかも少ないし、今度来るとき持ってこようか？
Not necessary. I've got what I need. The table is a small coffee table for one that Sachi dragged out of some storeroom as a stopgate measure. And the frying pan and what tableware I have are things I picked out carelessly at a local 100 yen hardware store, but since I'm living alone, it's perfectly adequate. No point getting more dishes when I'm only eating off one. It means more things to wash.
確かに、洗い物は溜め込んでないみたいだけど。
Noticing something as she speaks, Amane returns to the kitchen and starts to rustle through the plastic bag in the corner.
これはゴミ？捨てていいの？
Yeah. I've been throwing my empty oolong tea bottles in that bag, and before I knew it, I had something of a pile, but I was uncertain about the timing to throw them out.
明日資源ゴミの日だから、一緒に出しておいてあげる。
With a well-practiced movement, she peels off the labels, removes the caps, skillfully cuts off the plastic rings with the top of a kitchen knife. Finally, she lightly rinses the bottles themselves with tap water. Judging from the smooth motion of her hand, she's repeated this often enough to gain the mastery of an assembly line worker. Clearly, she's something of an eco-friendly woman. I mean, shouldn't we all be, especially in Japan, because they're really good about that? Like, they also get pissed off at, like, foreigners who don't know how to do that.
じゃあ、私部屋に戻るけど、食べ終わったら、ちゃんとお皿は洗い桶につけておいてね。後で洗いに来るから。
Why? I can wash my plate! No, I can take care of that much myself. Sorry for the hassle.
いいのよ。ちゃんとこういうこともできるって見せておかないと、ただのエッチなお姉さんだと思われちゃうしね。
Yeah, now it just sounds like you're trying to sell yourself as wife material. With a quick goodbye, Amane heads out of the room, not waiting for my impression of the crab fried rice. I had the idea that a busybody woman like her would be more likely to hang over my shoulder pestering me for compliments, but She just popped in all of a sudden, cooked for me in a flash, and left like as quickly. Might get the influence of dealing with that whimsical machina all the time. Let's eat. Unfortunately, I don't have a Chinese spoon in this room, so I'll have to make do with the standard Western variety. I jab my spoon into the mountain of steaming rice and quickly throw some in my mouth. Oh, not bad at all. Even someone as disinterested in food as me can tell when something tastes good. The salt seasoning feels a bit thin, but this is probably how it should be if you're thinking about healthy sodium intake. Although it would be insulting to compare this to the crap my master made, it's also different from the stuff you'd get at a high-priced Chinese restaurant. It tastes like your standard fried rice. What's with the flavor? When I was living alone with my mother as a child, I remember eating fried rice that tasted like this. After finishing her day job, my mother would make me dinner before her night shift started. In the late week of the month before her paychecks came in, it would often be pretty plain meal of fried rice. When all she could put on the table was fried rice with a bit of pink fish paste added, she would apologize as I ate. I'm sorry, this is all we've got. Unlike the fried rice Amane just made, there was never anything extravagant like crab thrown in, and Amane's cooking skills seemed to be better as well. Why is it that they taste similar? Where's this slight melancholy coming from? Well, it doesn't matter as long as it's good. It's just been a long time since you've had a home-cooked meal, bro. When I was a kid, anything I ate tasted good. That part of me hasn't changed too much. All right. Now I think we're going to be wrapping up. That's a very true line right there. It's dangerous to jump to conclusions about someone. So yeah, sounds like we got something exciting going on next time. So thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun making this video. I always have fun making these videos, but I still say thank you for showing up. It means a lot to me. Thank you, especially to the patrons and members for making it so I can better support the channel, give it more flair and fun, and make more content. It really means a lot to me that you are here and you're directly supporting me. I hope I can make it meaningful to you and continue to be worthy of that support. But ultimately, thank you so much for joining me for this game and picking it out, because I'm having fun. I'm really excited to see where this is going to go. It's doing a lot of build up, but that's not a bad thing because that usually means it's going to deliver. And again, having known how many people recommended this game, I have pretty high expectations. And yet, I've yet to be disappointed by a visual novel that comes highly recommended, so I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and until the next video watching me, I'll see you next. I'll see you there.